We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Nipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. In a dramatic shift from the US leader's call on Kyiv to make concessions to end the conflict, President Trump now says he believes Ukraine can retake all its land occupied by Russia. Iran, European powers meet in a bid to strike a last-ditch nuclear deal to avert reimposition of UN sanctions before a September 27th deadline. India hits out at Pakistan in United Nations, says it should vacate Indian territory under their illegal occupation and more focus on rescuing economy on life support. Super Typhoon Ragasa lashes Hong Kong. Schools shut, flights cancelled, thousands evacuated. Death toll climbs to 14 in Taiwan. And in cricket, India looks to continue its form against Bangladesh in Super Fours today in Asia Cup in Dubai. And on to the details now. In a major shift from his previous dismissals of Kyiv's aims in over 3.5-year-old conflict, US President Donald Trump on Tuesday said that Ukraine could retake all of its territory from Russia. Well, in a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump said he believes Ukraine, with the support of the European Union and NATO, can win back all of the territory Russia has taken. Trump further said the US will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with them. Dismissing Russia as a paper tiger in economic peril, Trump said Putin and Russia are in big economic trouble and this is the time for Ukraine to act.
The biggest progress is that the Russian economy is terrible right now. As you know, it's crashing. And that, frankly, Ukraine is doing a very good job of stopping this very large army. It's pretty amazing. You know, this is a war that should have ended in 3 days, 4 days. People said it was going to be very quick, and you got to hand it to the Ukrainian soldiers.
Well, Trump's comments came after holding talks with Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the UNGA in New York. Talking to media with Ukrainian counterpart, the US president called NATO nations to shoot down Russian planes violating their territory.
Mr. President, do you think that NATO countries should shoot their airspace?
Yes, I do.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed a big shift in Donald Trump's position after the US president said Kyiv could win back every inch of territory captured by Russia's army. Talking to media after meeting Trump, the Ukrainian president said the US president had the influence and the power to be a game changer for Ukraine.
Trump is a game changer by himself if he will be sure in Ukraine, and I think that he is more close now to this situation, and that's why and between us only Trump can. For today, we know some not too much players in the world who can be game changers, but he's the most closer to this.
Well, NATO warned Russia that it would use all necessary military and non-military tools to defend itself as it condemned Moscow for violating Estonian airspace in a pattern of increasingly irresponsible behavior. Well, the warning came after Estonia said on Friday that 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets violated its airspace for 12 minutes before NATO Italian fighter jets escorted them out. The week before, some 20 Russian drones entered Polish airspace, prompting NATO jets to shoot some of them down in the alliance to beef up the defense of Europe's eastern flank. Also, the NATO statement followed a meeting of the North Atlantic Council made up of ambassadors from the alliance's 32 member countries, which were called after Estonia invoked Article 4 of NATO's founding treaty. In its statement, NATO also said its members would not be deterred from continuing to support Ukraine in the exercise of its inherent right to self-defense against Russia's brutal and unprovoked war of aggression. Meanwhile, world leaders gathered at the UN Security Council for a high-level meeting on Ukraine conflict, while Ukrainian President Zelensky urged a stronger action from allies on Russia. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned of further escalation of the conflict.
We cannot afford to lose the current diplomatic momentum, as fragile as it might be. The longer this war continues, the more devastating its consequences for everyone. I therefore reiterate my appeal for a full, comprehensive and sustainable ceasefire.
Well, Chile on Tuesday put forward its former president, Michelle Bachelet, as a candidate to replace UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, whose term ends next year. Addressing the UN General Assembly, Chilean President Gabriel Boric said Bachelet was the perfect choice. A pediatrician by profession, Bachelet served as Chile's only woman president twice, from 2006 to 2010 and again from 2014 to 2018. A member of Chile's Socialist Party, she has also served as the Executive Director of UN Women and as UN Human High Commissioner for Human Rights. The UN has never been led by a woman in its 80-year history and has had only one Secretary General from Latin America to date, Peruvian Javier Pérez de Celia, who served from 1982 to 1991. And French President Emmanuel Macron said on Tuesday if US President Donald Trump wants to the Nobel Peace Prize, he needs to stop the conflict in Gaza, and he's better positioned to do so than France. Well, speaking in a televised interview from New York, where Macron is attending the UN General Assembly, he said that only Trump has the power to put pressure on Israel to end the conflict in Gaza.
The Nobel Peace Prize is only possible if you stop this conflict. And therefore, we must put pressure on the Israeli government to end the conflict in Gaza, so that we can finally release the 48 hostages and reopen the humanitarian aid routes, save the lives of children, women, men and the elderly.
48 otages.
Well, Macron also welcomed comments by Trump appearing to shift his rhetoric about the conflict in Ukraine. Trump said that he believed Ukraine can win back all of the territory Russia has taken since its invasion. While addressing the UN General Assembly early in the day, Trump criticized the organization itself, saying it had not supported his efforts to end conflicts around the world. But speaking to the chamber himself later in the day, Macron said the world needed a functioning United Nations.
L'Ukraine l'a dit souvent.
One could heap many criticism on our assembly, including some that are not entirely fair. This assembly is us. If it is ineffective, it's because some are blocking it, and often the most powerful. If it does not move fast enough, it is because we are not determined enough to push it forward. The United Nations is all of us.
Et tous ceux qui comprennent.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump warned Russia is prepared to impose strong economic measures over the conflict in Ukraine. In his combative speech to the UN, Trump's warning to Russia came with a twist. He said he wants US allies to impose the same measures on Russia as proposing to try to force Russian President Vladimir Putin.
In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures.
Well, French President Emmanuel Macron will meet with his Iranian counterpart at the UN on Wednesday as efforts to avert the reimposition of deep sanctions on Tehran over its nuclear program intensify. Giving options from the podium of the UN General Assembly on Tuesday, the French president said Iran either makes a gesture and goes back to the path of peace and accountability that makes it possible to get back on course, or sanctions will have to be imposed. Well, he further said he will meet the Iranian president on Wednesday on each of these crucial issues. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
Welcome to Rajasthan, the celebration of India. Rajasthan treats you with its many shades and values. That echoes the idea of India in its philosophy of Atithi Devo Bhava.
The gateway to Northeast India welcomes you to the land of untouched natural beauty and diverse history.
Pakistan's Al Khalid tank under fire at home. Can it hold up against India's T-90 Bhishma? Islamabad's stealth fighter dreams dashed. No J-35 in sight. India's big leap in aviation, IMRH and DBMRH set to rule the skies and the seas. And Israel powers up its Iron Beam lasers to replace missiles in future wars. Catch all the action on Defense Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
You're watching TT India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Iran and European powers remained at loggerheads on Tuesday to strike a last-ditch deal to avert the reimposition of UN sanctions before September 27 deadline, but both the sides left the door open for further talks. The foreign ministers of France, Britain and Germany, the so-called E3, along with the EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, held talks with their Iranian counterpart on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. On August 28, the E3 launched a 30-day process to reimpose UN sanctions, which ends on September 27th, accusing Tehran of failing to abide by the 2015 deal with world powers aimed at preventing it from developing a nuclear weapon. But the three European diplomats said significant gaps remained, even though all sides knew what needed to be done to get a compromise. Well, if Tehran and the E3 fail to reach a deal on the extension by the end of September 27th, then all UN sanctions, including on its key hydrocarbon sector, will be renewed on Iran, where the economy already struggles with crippling sanctions reimposed since 2018 after US President Donald Trump ditched the pact during his first term. Meanwhile, a team of inspectors were on their way to Iran should Tehran and European powers reach a deal this week to avert the reimposition of international sanctions. UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi agreed that technical measures with Iran in Cairo early this month would pave the way for the resumption of IAEA inspectors at sites. But with scant detail and no time frame, they've come under fire given the urgency ahead of snapback.
Everything is possible. Everything is, if there is a will, sorry for the cliche, if there is a will, there is a way. We have our inspectors, their inspectors are on the way, and they are, the possibility to start with this work is depending on the political will of Iran.
Well, protesters opposing the Iranian government gathered near the United Nations in New York on Tuesday, a day before Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian was set to address the annual UN General Assembly. Well, the Organization of Iranian American Communities, affiliated with People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, organized the rally. PMOI is the main faction within the exiled opposition umbrella organization, the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Well, also, there was a heavy security presence outside the United Nations headquarters. The U.S. Secret Service said on Tuesday it had dismantled a network of sophisticated electronic devices in the New York area that had been used to threaten U.S. government officials as foreign leaders gathered this week for the UN General Assembly. And in another meeting where leaders convened at UNSC to address the deepening Israel-Palestinian conflict with stark warnings about humanitarian crisis and regional instability dominating discussions. The meeting concluded with calls for renewed international efforts to address the escalating crisis as world leaders departed amid lingering questions about the Council's ability to act decisively. Well, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres described the situation as one of the darkest chapters in the conflict. Also, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, criticized the recent unilateral statements regarding Palestinian statehood. He argued that such moves embolden Hamas and undermine peace efforts.
Unfortunately, yesterday's conference spoke to domestic audiences, but it will prolong this tragic war in Gaza, and it will prolong the suffering. Hamas stands emboldened today after that conference. We've rewarded its obstruction. We've undermined efforts to achieve peace in both the short and the long term. Unilateral recognition statements do not alter the reality on the ground. It does not alter the fact that there is not a Palestinian state to recognize. And at this point, there is no credible Palestinian partner for peace.
Well, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the U.S. has not received a reported letter from Hamas regarding a hostage deal. According to a news channel, Hamas sent a letter to U.S. President Trump proposing a 60-day ceasefire in exchange for the immediate release of half of the hostages being held in Gaza. Well, Rubio told Fox channels Fox and Friends on Tuesday morning that his administration has not received any such letter from Hamas.
We haven't seen the letter. We don't have that letter. And even if we did, it wouldn't matter. The president has already made clear he's not interested in 60 days, 10 people. He wants all the hostages out, all 48, including the 20 who are alive, 28 who are deceased. He wants them all. There should have never been any. Why are we even talking about hostages? Why do we still have to talk about hostages at this point? There shouldn't be any. They should all be released immediately, period.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump held meetings with leaders of Muslim nations, including Qatar's Amir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, on the sidelines of UN General Assembly in New York on Tuesday. And according to the reports, the meeting was focused on ending the ongoing conflict in Gaza and reaching a permanent ceasefire. Well, U.S. media reports that release of hostages, ending hostilities, and plans for Israel's eventual withdrawal from Gaza were the key issues discussed during the meeting. Earlier, talking to media before the start of the meeting, Trump said the meeting is aimed at bringing the hostages back and permanent ceasefire in Gaza.
We're here to see if we can get the hostages back and get the war over and get back to life in the Middle East, which is a beautiful life, but it's much more beautiful without wars, right?
The reason we're here is to stop the war and bring the hostages back. And we count on you and your leadership as well to end this war and to help the people of Gaza. The situation is very, very, very bad there. So we are here to meet and to do everything we can to stop this war and to bring the hostages back.
Well, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on Tuesday acknowledged that trade discussions between the U.S. and Canada are still ongoing. Speaking at a press conference after attending the UN General Assembly, Carney said while Canada currently had the best trade deal with the U.S. of any country due to USMCA compliant goods being exempt from U.S. tariffs, it could be better. On China, Carney said Canada has alignment with the U.S. on steel tariffs and China, saying he hopes to have talks with President Xi Jinping.
We have the best trade deal of any country in the world. Right now with the United States, we have 85% plus of our trade is free. We have the lowest tariff of any country in the world. That deal can be better. Both the President, President Trump, and I agree on that. We have a number of discussions, our officials have a number of discussions on how that can be potentially structured. A lot of that will roll into this process of the review of what we call CUSMA, which is our agreement, you know this, but for everybody, agreement with the United States and Mexico. That review will start over the course of later this year. I mean, the individual country reviews, but the discussions will start later this year and into next year.
And South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said on Tuesday he's in talks with the U.S. trade representative to reduce tariffs levied by U.S. President Donald Trump. Ramaphosa also said the African Growth Opportunity Act treaty should continue.
And also the tariffs that President Trump is seeking to levy on us and has already started to be reduced. And that AGOA treaty should continue, and we are now involved in negotiations with the United States Trade Representative to see the extent to which we can reduce that.
Well, 4 years after the military seized power, voters in the Guinea referendum have resoundingly chosen to implement a new constitution, with 89% supporting the charter. Well, the constitution paves the way for elections in the West African country, but also permits General Mamadi Doumbouya, its junta leader, to run for presidency. According to Condé, total election turnout stood at 86.4%. Final results will be announced by the Supreme Court at an unspecified date. Well, the opposition, many of whose leaders are based abroad, had called for a boycott, describing the vote as a power grab with predetermined results. Some 6.7 million Guineans out of a population of approximately 14.5 million people were eligible to cast the ballot. And some weather updates now. Typhoon Ragasa, the world's most powerful tropical cyclone this year, lashed China's tech hub of Shenzhen on Wednesday morning. While Guangdong authorities have evacuated over 7,700,000 people for safety measures, residents were urged to stay indoors and public transportation was suspended. 14 people have died in eastern Taiwan's Hualien County after a barrier lake in the mountains overflowed due to Super Typhoon Ragasa. Well, Super Typhoon also lashed Hong Kong before battering China. Many regions in Hong Kong have shut down and more than 700 flights have been cancelled. Authorities have warned of rising sea levels, saying they could be similar to those seen during Typhoon Hato in 2017 and Typhoon Mangkhut in 2018, both of which caused billions of dollars in damage. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. As Morocco prepares for the Africa Cup, the capital city will host a spectacular cultural event titled Dance of Africa. The celebration will feature music, dance and performances showcasing the diversity and unity of African nations. The event, held in the heart of Rabat, also highlights Morocco's role as a cultural bridge on the continent and brings the festive spirit of the tournament to both locals and the visitors. The World Health Organization's new global hypertension report reveals 1.4 billion people worldwide live with high blood pressure, but only 1 in 5 manage to control it. Hypertension remains a leading cause of heart attacks, strokes, kidney disease and dementia. Experts warn that without urgent action, millions more lives and billions in economic losses are at risk, especially in low-income countries where vital medicines are still limited. And still to come on DD India News Now. On the sidelines of the UNGA, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar holds a high-level meeting with countries of Global South. IAF to retire MiG-21 on September 26th, honouring 6 decades of distinguished service. And heavy rains paralysed Kolkata ahead of Durga Puja festivities.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. In a dramatic shift from the US leader's call on Kyiv to make concessions to end the conflict, President Trump now says he believes the Ukraine can retake all its land occupied by Russia. Iran-European powers meet in a bid to strike a last-ditch nuclear deal to avert reimposition of UN sanctions before a September 27th deadline. India heads out at Pakistan in United Nations, says it should vacate Indian territory under their illegal occupation and more focus on rescuing economy on its life support. Super Typhoon Ragasa lashes Hong Kong, schools shut, flights cancelled, thousands evacuated, death toll climbs to 14 in Taiwan. And in cricket, India looks to continue its form against Bangladesh in Super 4s today in Asia Cup in Dubai. Well, India on Tuesday hits out at Pakistan at the United Nations Human Rights Council, lashing out at Islamabad for abusing the forum with baseless and provocative statements against India. While representing India at the 60th session of the Human Rights Council, Kshitij Tyagi, Councillor Permanent Mission of India in Geneva, said that Pakistan should focus on rescuing an economy on life support, a polity muzzled by military dominance. He further said that instead of coveting our territory, they would do well to vacate the Indian territory under their illegal occupation and focus on rescuing an economy on life support, a polity muzzled by military dominance and a human rights record stained by persecution, perhaps once they find time away from exporting terrorism, harboring UN-proscribed terrorists and bombing their own people.
A delegation that epitomizes the antithesis of this approach continues to abuse this forum with baseless and provocative statements against India. Instead of coveting our territory, they would do well to vacate the Indian territory under the illegal occupation and focus on rescuing an economy on life support, a polity muzzled by military dominance, and a human rights record stained by persecution. Perhaps once they find time away from exporting terrorism, harboring UN-proscribed terrorists, and bombing their own people.
While Defence Minister of India Rajnath Singh with his Moroccan counterpart Abdel Latif loudly jointly inaugurated Tata Advanced System Limited's defence manufacturing facility in Borouge, Morocco. The plant will produce the indigenously developed wheeled armoured platform for the Royal Moroccan Army, with deliveries starting next month. Marking the first Indian private defence facility in Africa, the project highlights India's Make for the World vision under Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is expected to boost local employment, defence capabilities and strategic ties between India and Morocco, while serving as a future export hub to Africa and Europe. And addressing at US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, Union Minister Piyush Goyal on Wednesday said India's advancements and initiatives in energy, security and healthcare, highlighting the 7-year success of the free healthcare program benefiting 612 million people.
We launched Ayushman Bharat 7 years ago on this trip. I think that was a very important program because it brought to the fore a need to ensure quality health care for every citizen of India. It was expanded in earlier this year, towards the end of the last year, in 24, it was expanded to cover everybody above the age of 70 years. So now we have about 620 million beneficiaries of free healthcare in India.
Well, Minister of State for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Jayant Chaudhary, visited Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he met with senior faculty members working on AI and related domains. Jayant Chaudhary also had an engaging interaction with select researchers and entrepreneurs from various fields. Well, the focused discussions on the role of AI in shaping the future workforce and potential areas of academic and technological cooperation. Also, Jayant Chaudhary also met a delegation led by the president of Boston University, Melissa Gilliam, in Boston for a wide-ranging discussion on avenues for collaboration between Boston University and India in education, vocational training and skilling domains. Well, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jay Shankar held a great conversation with FM Alba Baptiste of St. Lucia. Jay Shankar also met Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Somalia, Abdisalam Ali, on the sideline of the meeting. Dr. Jay Shankar met FM of Mauritius, Dhananjay Ritesh Ramphul, and discussed following up on the recent successful state visit of PM Naveen Ramagoolam to India. All in a post on X, Dr. Jaishankar said, "Pleasure to know FM Melvin Bawa of Suriname and appreciated his warm warnings for ties, words for ties." Jaishankar met FM Lejon Mopjoana of Lesotho on the sidelines of the high-level meeting. Well, Dr. Jaishankar appreciated the conversation with FM of Denmark, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, and valued his insights on latest developments in Europe and the Ukraine conflict. Both leaders also discussed bilateral ties and India-EU cooperation under the Danish presidency. And on the sidelines of the UNGA meeting in the U.S., External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a key meeting in New York. Jaishankar hosted a high-level meeting of like-minded Global South countries to discuss a number of important global issues. He made the proposal for Global South to approach the world affairs and said in light of current challenges, the need for enhanced dialogue among the Global South was emphasized to foster solidarity and encourage mutual cooperation. Well, the discussion recommended utilizing existing platforms to strengthen mutual consultation. Presenting India's position, Dr. Jaishankar said, given the growing concerns and multiplicity of risks of today, it is natural for the Global South to turn to multilateralism for solutions.
India would propose the following points for your collective consideration. 1. We utilize existing forums to strengthen consultations among Global South with a view to enhance solidarity and encourage collaboration. 2. Bring to the table specific strengths, experiences, and achievements that we may have individually developed, but which can actually benefit fellow Global South members.
Well, Tokyo witnessed a vibrant celebration of Ayurveda Day on Tuesday at the Embassy of India under the theme Ayurveda for People and the Planet. The event featured a yoga session and a Kathak dance performance. Minister of State for Ayush and Health and Family Welfare, Pratap Rao Jadhav, gave a video message at the event. A special congratulatory message from Ms. Eke Abe to Prime Minister Narendra Modi was read out, appreciating India's promotion of Ayurveda and its centuries-old contribution to physical and mental well-being. And from bold military operations against terror to sweeping reforms in defence production, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership has seen India assert itself with strength and confidence.
In 2025, India crossed the line of control to strike terror camps in several locations in POK in Pakistan, avenging the Pahalgam terror attack. It was a clear message to the enemy. Terrorism would be met with force. This was the second time the Indian Armed Forces entered the POK to strike terrorists and their handlers, the first being the Balakot airstrikes of 2019. During Operation Sindoor, India not only dismantled terror infrastructure inside Pakistan, but also thwarted every attempt to target Indian soil. Both operations signaled New Delhi's new resolve under Prime Minister's leadership.
सिर्फ 20-25 मिनट के भीतर सीमा पार लक्ष्यों को भेदना, बिल्कुल पिन पॉइंटेड टारगेट्स को हिट करना, ये सिर्फ एक मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी से लैस प्रोफेशनल फोर्स ही कर सकती है.
Beyond the battlefield, Modi's connect with armed forces is deeply personal. He has made it a tradition to celebrate Diwali with soldiers on their front lines, calling them his family.
मेरे लिए तो वर्षों वर्ष से मेरा परिवार आप ही सब है. मेरी दीपावली की मिठास आपके बीच बढ़ जाती है.
Symbolism has gone hand in hand with substance. In 2022, India commissioned INS Vikrant, the first indigenously built aircraft carrier. The new naval ensign unveiled that day reflected a confident, self-reliant India.
विक्रांत केवल एक युद्धपोत नहीं है, ये 21वीं सदी के भारत के परिश्रम प्रतिभा, प्रभाव और प्रतिबद्धता का प्रमाण है।
Modernization has accelerated indigenous fighter jets like LCA Tejas, artillery systems and missile projects are strengthening the arsenal of Indian armed forces. India's defense production hit a record 1.5 lakh crore rupees in fiscal year 2025, over 3 times than that of 2014. Defense exports have also crossed 24,000 crore mark in fiscal year 2025. India has also acquired some of the most cutting-edge weapon systems to secure its defenses. Rafale jets, 36 multi-role fighters with Meteor and Scalp missiles, S-400 Triumph, world's most advanced air defense shield, Apache AH-64E, lethal attack helicopters with Hellfire missiles, Chinook, heavy lift helicopters for high altitude operations, M777 ultralight howitzers, game changers in mountain warfare. The creation of Chief of Defence Staff has also improved jointness, while reforms have cut red tape and sped up acquisitions. On the welfare side, the implementation of one rank, one pension fulfilled a decade-old demand of veterans. For serving troops, better housing, improved border infrastructure, and Prime Minister's frequent frontline visits have boosted morale. From Balakot to Operation Sindoor, from INS Vikrant to record defence exports, the decade under Prime Minister Modi has been marked by decisive action, modernization, and self-reliance. In New Delhi, Akshay Dongre for DD India.
भारत माता की।
Well, after 6 decades in the skies, the Indian Air Force is set to retire the last 2 squadrons of its iconic MiG-21 fighter jets, with a ceremonial farewell scheduled for September 26th at Chandigarh. For decades, this aircraft was the backbone of India's aerial defence, serving in key conflicts from 1971 to the Balakot operations. An Indian Air Force tribute describes the aircraft as not just a fighter, but a symbol of resilience, highlighting the deep connection between the machine and the personnel who flew and maintained it. Well, the farewell marks an emotional moment as the jet flies into the sunset, but the aircraft will not be sent to the scrapyard. As its engines fall silent, the MiG-21's legacy will be etched forever in the history of the Indian Air Force.
21, the sentinel of our skies. For 60 years, it has guarded the nation, training our warriors, testing their courage, and triumphing in battle. A machine of steel, flown with unmatched spirit. The Chief of the Air Staff, joined by Squadron Leader Priya, honors this legacy with a commemorative sortie. Swift, fearless, enduring. Every mission, every landing. A chapter of courage written into history. A legend bows out, saluted by generations. The MiG-21 departs, but its legacy will always remain.
And moving on, India's Minister of State for Information and Technology, Dr. L. Murugan, held a meeting with Director of the Busan Film Commission, Kang Sung-kyu, on the sidelines of the Busan International Film Festival on Tuesday. Well, the discussions focused on India's prospective membership of AFC-NET and avenues of collaboration with the Busan Asian Film School, a step that promises to strengthen cinematic ties and creative partnerships between India and Korea. And DD India's Jaya Sinha joins us for more from Seoul, South Korea. Well, Jaya, Minister of State Dr. L. Murugan held a meeting with the director of the Busan Film Commission yesterday. Give us the details.
Definitely. He held a meeting with Busan Film Commission yesterday. We had a roundtable with Busan Film Commission and other senior dignitaries and with the industry leaders yesterday. And today they had a meeting, very important meeting here at Seoul It's here at the Parliament with the members of Cultural Committee. Lepakshi, we're trying to understand here because it's a Busan International Film Festival where India this time is participating with their strongest ever contingent with more than 10 films in various segments. And also there's serious delegation level talks are also going between how India and Korea can improve their cooperation and can move forward towards more co-productions. And that's why in this time, at the 30th edition of Busan International Film Festival, India is participating with a high-level delegation led by Minister of State Dr. L. Murugan. So what we are having here, we're having serious delegation-level talks on how that both countries can have stronger ties when you talk about cinema, culture. India is showcasing its full strength here with more than 10 films participating at Busan International Film Festival, and also through Bharat Par we saw how Bharat Par was celebrated here, where senior dignitaries from Korea participated, where India showcased its cinema, culture and creativity. And also we are promoting our Waves Bazaar through Bharat Pavilion at the Busan International Film Festival, Asia Contents Film Market, and also here at the Seoul we are having various meetings. We are going to have a community engagement also today. We are trying to showcase how India have made serious policy framework to improve co-productions, not with Korea, with the entire world. We are trying to show them that India is saying nowadays that come make in India, come, we are making for the world. We have the best shooting locales, you can come. There are a lot of B2B meetings are happening, which is being led by MOS Dr. L. Murugan, where we're inviting them for International Film Festival of India, which is happening in November. And also how we can move forward when we talk about co-productions, because Korea is still trying to recover from the losses after the way COVID has hit the Korean industry really bad. So they are also looking forward for more collaborations, more co-productions and more cooperation with India, because India, as we know, is one of the largest film producing country right now. And the kind of Wave Bazaar we have launched, which is like an online e-marketplace to connect collaborators, investors, filmmakers, with the markets of entire world. So that's a great initiative by India, which we are trying to take forward.
All right. Of course, India will strengthen its cinematic ties and collaboration there. Thank you so much, Jaya, for all those details from Seoul. And some weather updates from parts of India now. Heavy overnight rains wreaked havoc across East Indian state of Kolkata, flooding roads and halting the traffic. Waterlogging disrupted daily life with 30 flights cancelled at the airport. Schools will remain shut for 2 days. Tragically, 8 people lost their lives in rain-related incidents, including electrocution. While the BJP blamed the Mamata Banerjee government for ignoring weather alerts and demanded compensation for victim families, with Durga Puja around the corner, the city struggles to recover from the downpour. Rescue teams have been deployed in low-lying areas while civic bodies race to clear the clogged drains. And in a joint high-altitude operation, the Indo-Tibetan Border Police and National Disaster Response Force evacuated a patient on stretcher from Chitkul, approximately 4 kilometers on foot in Himachal Pradesh. Despite the difficult conditions, the rescue team successfully brought the patient to an IDBP ambulance stationed at a motorable point. The patient was then transported for further medical treatment. Well, in a remarkable rescue from the mountain, the NDRF conducted a joint rescue operation along with SDRF and civil administration to rescue a 46-year-old person who fell into 100 meters deep Mandakini River gorge near Rudraprayag, Uttarakhand. Well, the authorities retrieved the victim safely and handed over to civil administration for further treatment. The operation highlights the preparedness and dedication of India's emergency services in tackling life-threatening situations in the country's most challenging terrains. And moving on, Indian Hindi cinema director Karan Johar, whose film Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani bagged the National Award for Best Popular Film, providing wholesome entertainment at the 71st National Film Awards, expressed his excitement over getting the prestigious honour. The Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum director got the exact same honour 27 years ago for his debut film Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. While talking exclusively to DD India, the director expressed immense happiness on getting the award and also lavished praise on Waves, a free OTT platform launched by Prasar Bharati.
Keep it simple. What does the feel like today?
It feels magical, it feels emotional, it feels surreal, it feels all the above. Winning this award after 27 years in this category, I won it for my first film Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, 27 years later to win it again. It means that there's been a consistency and a continued relevance, and I'm very grateful to audiences worldwide for aiding me in assisting my vision. Also the fact that Shah Rukh and Rani are here, winning awards as well, it means the world to me. I think more power to Waves, more power to the fact that it's amazing content that is freely available for the consumer to watch. I think we're running short of like some prolific platforms to add to the beautiful mix of, you know, Jio Hotstar, Netflix, Amazon, Z5. I think more the merrier. So I'm glad we have Waves to create some beautiful waves in the wave of entertainment.
And Chairman of Central Board of Film Certification CBFC and renowned lyricist Prasoon Joshi expressed his happiness at the 71st National Film Awards. While speaking exclusively to DD India, Joshi highlighted India's role in evolution of cinema across the world.
First of all, I want to ask you, how happy are you coming here?
Every year when I come here, you know, this is one day you suddenly feel what a great country we live in and what diversity. I mean, you see the kind of so many languages, so many, you know, ways of thinking together. The confluence of it when you see it here at the National Film Award. And every year I think the jury deliberates hours before this comes out. So I feel really great, you know, as an artist, as an Indian, that this is a great platform and where you see so much of diversity together.
So the journey started in 1913, you know, when we made the first indigenous film, Raja Harishchandra. And, you know, today we have come so far, and the kind of technology we use, the talent pool that we have, how do you see the Indian cinema growing?
No, I think Indian cinema has been exploring. Cinema as a medium, we have an invention might not have happened here, but we have seen how it has evolved over the years. We have adapted to it very well, and I think it almost become like everybody has a camera today. Like even at a home, you see even small children are making, you know, small films. So I think it's telling stories is very much part of a human life, yeah. And Indians by nature are storytellers. And I think we have, with cinema, we have not only evolved with cinema, we have contributed. India has hugely contributed to the growth and evolution of cinema in the world. So I feel we have done wonderful work. That technically we are becoming more and more superior. I think diverse subjects are coming out, and that's a great sign for me.
Thank you so much for talking to DD India, sir.
Pleasure.
While you're watching DD India News, our time now for some sports news. India faces Bangladesh in a high-stakes Super 4 clash at the Asia Cup 2025 at the Dubai International Stadium on Wednesday. The only unbeaten outfit of the tournament, India haven't been seriously challenged in the 4 preceding games. After a rather comfortable 6-wicket win over Pakistan in the first Super 4 match, India will eye the final spot when they lock horns with Bangladesh today. With India continuing the dominant run in the Asia Cup, the onus will be on Bangladesh to defy the odds and produce a performance that could shake the tournament's balance. And sharing a light moment on the streets of New York, French President Emmanuel Macron called his US counterpart Donald Trump after he and his entourage were stopped from crossing a route being kept clear for Trump's motorcade. Both the leaders were in New York to attend the UN General Assembly.
How many people? No, I have 10 people with me. So I go to the French embassy.
No. You see, I'm sorry, I'm president. I'm really sorry. It's just that everything's in frozen right now. There's a motorcade coming right. That's why.
Oh, sorry. If you don't see it, let me pause. I negotiate with you. No, it's not that. That's the way I can. How are you? Guess what? I'm waiting the street because everything is frozen for you. What are you solving? Because it's one good thing you thought ago. I don't know. I've seen 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But I would love if we can. Yeah, I know. I would follow. But after I would love if we can have a short discussion with Qatar and the situation at Gaza, because we were.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.